Do you plan your whole day around where the nearest bathroom is? I did for almost 11 years. And I want to tell you something before anything else. I'm 83. I still get checked every year, and I still sleep straight through most nights. That didn't come from a pill. It came from understanding what was actually happening inside my own body, and from one habit that cost less than a cup of coffee. I'm not telling you this to impress you. I'm telling you because I used to be the man standing in his own kitchen at 2 in the morning, gripping the counter, waiting for something that wouldn't come easily anymore. And now I'm the man who forgets, some weeks, that his prostate was ever a problem at all. A large share of men past 50 deal with some form of an enlarged prostate. It's one of the most common conditions in aging men, full stop. So if you're nodding right now, you are not broken, and you are not alone. What I'm about to walk you through is the one drink that changed how my body handled all of it, and why it works on more than just the plumbing. Here's where I was. My wife would ask if I was coming to bed, and I'd say, in a minute, and the minute would turn into 40. Not because I didn't want to be there, because I was scared to try and fail again. There's a particular kind of quiet that settles over a bedroom when a man stops reaching for his wife, not from lack of love, but from fear of disappointing her. We slept back to back. Some nights our hands would almost touch under the blanket, and I'd pull mine away first, because I didn't know how to explain what was happening to my own body, let alone to her. I remember thinking, is this just what 70 looks like now? Is this the deal I signed up for by getting old? Nobody explained any of it to me. I went in for a checkup. The doctor felt around, said the word enlarged, told me it was common, and sent me home with a pamphlet and a prescription. 8 minutes, maybe less. I left that office more confused than when I walked in. What does enlarged even mean? Is it going to keep growing? Is this connected to what's happening in the bedroom, or is that just old age catching up with me separately? I had questions, and no one had the time to sit with me and answer them. That's not malice. That's just how the system runs a patient through. Quick visit, quick script, next appointment in a year. I had to go find the answers myself, and what I found actually surprised me. The prostate wraps around the tube that carries urine, and when it swells, which is what enlarged means, nothing more sinister than that, it presses on that tube and on the nerves and blood vessels running right through that same tight space. Research has documented that this kind of swelling is driven largely by inflammation and by a shift in hormone signaling that happens naturally with age, not by anything you did wrong. And here's the part nobody sat me down to say out loud. When that whole region is inflamed and under pressure, it doesn't just affect urination. The same congestion, the same restricted blood flow, touches the exact same nerves and vessels involved in intimacy. It's one neighborhood. You can't inflame one house on the block and expect the house next door to be unaffected. That reframe alone took a weight off me, because for years I thought my body was failing me in two separate, unrelated ways. It wasn't. It was one system, out of balance, showing up in two places. So then the real question becomes, what actually calms that inflammation, safely, without pretending to be some kind of miracle cure? For years, one number ran my life, the PSA. It would tick up a point and I'd lie awake the whole night, certain it meant the worst, picturing the biopsy, the knife, the end of everything. Then someone finally told me the truth no doctor had. That number doesn't measure cancer. It measures your prostate. And as we age, it climbs mostly because the gland is simply enlarging, benign, swollen, and uncomfortable, not the worst. The number was scaring me half to death over something ordinary. And the prescriptions they push to shrink it? They can flatten your drive completely, soften everything, quietly take the man right out of you. I wasn't willing to trade that away. There's a gentle way to support that gland, keep it comfortable, a healthy size, without surrendering any of that. Keep getting checked every year, of course. At 83, that number doesn't own me anymore. I finally have peace. Let me show you what gave it to me in this video. And if you want the simple support I personally use, there's a free presentation linked in the description below. Before I get to the drink, let me tell you about the medication, because that's the part nobody warns you about ahead of time. My doctor first put me on a prescription meant to relax the muscle around the gland so urine could pass easier. It did help the flow, some. But the pamphlet that came with it listed, in small print, the exact things I was already terrified of. reduced desire, trouble with ejaculation, and for a portion of men, the very erection trouble I was already fighting. I remember reading that pamphlet, standing at my bathroom sink, staring at the bottle, thinking, so my choice is pressure and shame, or a pill that might trade one problem for the other one I care about even more. That's not a real choice. That's a trap dressed up as a solution. I'm not telling you to throw your prescription away, please don't. That's between you and your doctor. I'm telling you that's exactly why I went looking for something to run alongside it, something that worked with my body instead of overriding it. The habit that changed things for me wasn't complicated, and it wasn't expensive. It was a cup of brewed green tea once a day in the early afternoon. Not the bottled, sugared version from the gas station, the real leaf, steeped, plain. Green tea is rich in a group of plant compounds called polyphenols, and researchers who study prostate tissue have found that these compounds appear to act locally, right in that inflamed region, calming the swelling response without touching your hormones the way some prescription drugs do. That distinction mattered enormously to me. A drug that works by altering your hormones system-wide can quiet one symptom while creating 3 others. A compound that works locally, right where the swelling actually is, doesn't carry that same trade-off, at least not in the way I experienced it, and not according to what I read from people who've spent their careers studying this tissue. The tea worked quietly, in the background, the way real support usually does. Not overnight, over weeks. But I want to be honest with you, the tea alone wasn't the whole story, and if anyone tells you one drink solves 11 years of a problem, don't believe them. What actually turned things around was treating it like a small system, not a silver bullet. First, the green tea, daily, for that local anti-inflammatory support. Second, I cut back hard on fried food and processed meat. Researchers who track metabolic health have connected that kind of heavy, processed diet to worse prostate symptoms and more swelling in the exact tissue we're talking about. Third, I started walking 20 minutes after dinner instead of collapsing into my recliner. A large, long-running study of health professionals found that men who stayed physically active reported meaningfully fewer urinary symptoms and less progression of an enlarged prostate over time than men who stayed sedentary. 3 small things, none of them a pill, none of them a promise, just a system, stacked, done consistently. There was a 4th piece too, smaller but worth mentioning. I stopped drinking anything with caffeine after about 2 in the afternoon. A large population study that looked at men across the country found that higher caffeine intake tracked with a higher rate of prostate enlargement and urinary symptoms. I'm not saying coffee is the enemy. I had my cup every morning, same as always. I just stopped treating it like something I could drink at any hour without consequence for that specific part of my body. And I kept my yearly checkup the entire time. That part is not negotiable, and I want to be very direct with you about that. Nothing I'm describing replaces your doctor, your exam, or your screening schedule. This is support that lives alongside medical care, never instead of it. These days I get up maybe once a night, sometimes not at all. My wife stopped asking if I was coming to bed because I just come to bed. We don't talk about it, we don't need to. I still see my doctor every single year, right on schedule, and I still get my exam done without dread because I finally understand what's actually being measured and why it moves the way it does. I think about a man named Foster, 67, ran a hardware store outside Spokane for 30 years, who wrote me something I haven't forgotten. He said he'd stopped initiating anything with his wife of 41 years, convinced his body had simply retired from that part of life. He'd already tried the prescription route and quietly stopped taking it on his own after the side effects hit, which worried me when he told me. I asked him to at least go back and talk it through with his doctor rather than just quitting cold, and to his credit, he did. Together they adjusted his plan, and he layered in the same habit I'd used, the tea, cutting the fried and processed food, the after-dinner walk, easing off afternoon caffeine. About 6 weeks in, he told me the pressure he'd carried for a decade felt like it had turned the volume down. He wasn't cured. He was comfortable, present, and no longer avoiding his own bedroom. That's the goal, not a miracle. Comfort and getting your evenings back, one ordinary evening at a time. What I want you to walk away with is this. Your body isn't betraying you, and it isn't too late to support it. Here's what I settled on: a few drops a day. And let me tell you why it works. One compound calms one signal, but a swollen prostate answers when several are calmed at once. The growth signal, the inflammation, the pressure inside it. So what I use concentrates them, working as one, the way the research actually uses them, not a single ingredient pretending to be enough. A gland that stays comfortable and a healthy size, fewer trips, and the quiet of no longer fearing that number. It leaves the man fully intact. None of that flattening the prescriptions can do. It's linked right under this video. Go look for yourself. It won't replace your doctor or your yearly check. It supports the biology right alongside them. I'm 83, and that number doesn't own me anymore. I think about the man I was, standing at that kitchen counter at 2 in the morning, certain something in me had just quietly broken for good. And I think about the man I am now, 83 years old, still walking after dinner, still drinking that cup of tea, still showing up for my wife without dread hanging over the evening. That's not youth. That's peace. It's the difference between surviving your own body and actually living in it. If there's one thing I'd tell the man I was back then, it's that he wasn't out of options. He just hadn't been given the right ones yet. And neither have you until right now. So tell me in the comments, how long have you been carrying this quietly? And has anyone in your life actually explained why it happens? I read every comment, and if this helped you understand your own body a little better today, subscribe, because I've got more of what I learned to share, and I'd like you to be here for it. Keep getting checked, keep talking to your doctor, and don't let one uncomfortable evening convince you that this is just how the rest of your life has to feel.